That's a tough one to try to describe what the love was or is. I guess when you're really deeply in love, you don't bother trying to define it. You just enjoy it. You just, if you're gonna know me, you would have to know Julie. I knew very quickly that she'd make a great wife. When I met her, I don't think I was smart enough to know what was necessary to be a great mother, but boy, she was just a phenomenal mother and wonderful to our kids. She was athletic, she was graceful and beautiful, and she was intelligent, and she supported my interest in art. She loved family. She was just a lot of fun. Julie came out of the shower one day and she had been self-examining her breast, and she felt a lump, and she told me. And we went to the doctor, and I can remember distinctly Dr. Schnapper sitting us down, and she started out by saying it was a cancer. And with that, it was as though somebody had drained all the oxygen out of the room. I remember my first thought was, after several seconds, I think, my first thought was, okay, breathe, Jim, just breathe. And I remember Dr. Schnapper telling me, she said, Julie's gonna try everything in the book to get you to reject her. Don't fall for it. She said, I've seen more couples break up over something like this than you'd believe. And I really couldn't believe it, because it seemed to me that if ever marriage called for closeness, that was a time when it did. I think they used to say that after 5 years, you were considered to be in remission. And we made it through 7 years. Fortunately, we didn't wait to enjoy our lives together. We just kept going from day one. But then it was 7 years, then 5 years, then 3 years. And each time, of course, that it came back, it was more difficult. During the last 8 months of Julie's illness, I took off from teaching, and I stayed home with her. I was where I wanted to be, and she wanted me with her. Every day, there was a little bit more responsibility to the care that I was taking of her. When it was difficult for her to walk, and I would walk behind her and put my knees behind her knees and press forward so that she could walk, or she would come down the stairs and she'd bump down on her butt. And then we changed to the point where I would carry her downstairs and I would carry her piggyback, so that if I fell, I would fall into the stairs. And when I carried her upstairs to put her in bed at night, I would carry her, we called it bridal style, so that if I fell, then I would again fall into the stairs and she'd be safe. And I bathed her and washed her hair and dressed her and fed her, and we used to say we did our own choreography. That was what it came down to. So during those final 8 months, there were fewer and fewer things that we could do. But those 8 months were among the most intimate, romantic, reassuring, reconfirming months of our marriage. I knew I'd married the right person, and I think Julie felt the same way too. The day that she passed, on that March 12th, there was no dramatic change to my love for her. It just continued. No, I couldn't hold her physically anymore, but my thoughts grew from the day before, and I think the next day they grew more. It's hard to explain, but when you love someone, it just goes on. it can't be taken away from you. It shouldn't be stifled. It just goes on in a different way, I guess. And if you were to ask me what that way is, I'm not sure I could tell you. I just know it's strong. That afternoon, my son came into the room and he said, "Dad, are you going to be able to sleep in this room tonight, being that she passed here?" And I remember thinking, well, I could either hate this room because this is where she passed one night, or I could love this room because this is where we slept, over 8,000 nights, and that's a no-brainer. I think in the first year after Julie passed, it was a gradual accumulation of 365 days, each one of which had its own peril and its own risk. But in particular, the days that were, holidays or birthdays or anniversaries or something like that, they were treacherous. And naively, I think I thought on day 366, because it would then be my second time through all those days again, that it would be dramatically easier. But for that reason, the second year was extremely difficult, much worse than the first year. Between the numbness, the first year, and then the second year, the difficulty, I found myself not smiling. I was afraid that my cheeks might crack the first time I let a smile come out. I came to realize that I probably missed it. I missed that feeling. I was afraid to disclose that, even to myself, let alone to someone else. I guess I felt that either I or someone looking at me might think that I had successfully relegated Julie's memory and the pain that it included to the past. And I would be moving on and divorcing myself from maintaining her memory. And I found that I could commingle. Her memory gave me many reasons to smile. And that was a very refreshing, rebirthing realization when it came around. I would never, ever have believed that I would be able to say to you, it's 10 years since my wife died. My gosh, getting to the next day itself was a huge step. The idea of getting to 10 years seemed impossible. Luckily, no, I don't say luckily, blessedly, there have been so many things that have happened in my life, with my children each finding a spouse and my granddaughter having been born, and to see my life growing in size again is wonderful. There's just not a whole lot more of what I would have been looking for that I haven't had already. What I'm looking forward to is experiencing and revisiting and reuniting with Julie with senses that are beyond what I can even imagine now. So do I think I'll see her again? I think it'll be better than seeing her. I think I'll perceive her in a way that makes heaven worth the name heaven.